What if we told you that there were better ways than just having a will that would allow you to leave what you want to who you want and when you want it to without the need to go through a lengthy and public process like probate?
As adults, estate planning for asset protection may not be a fun topic, but if you want to direct your finances so that your loved ones don't miss out on a wealth transfer, it's something you must do. Today, we're giving an overview of estate planning with different trust options, and we will clarify who they're best for. If you have a house, a car, a business, or even a bank account, this video applies to you. Hi, I'm Nadia.
And I'm Nicole, and we are the Well Twins. So let's jump into it. As a society, we need to make estate planning more of a standard practice. Really, most of us are taught that wills and life insurance are all that we actually need if we want to ensure that our family is taken care of when we pass away. The problem with this is that both wills and life insurance have gaping holes in it when it comes to estate planning for asset protection and force millions of people to miss out on a wealth transfer.
Now, don't confuse the term estate planning with palatial grounds or needing to be really wealthy for you to take advantage of it. Think of it as something of value that you have that you want to leave to someone to help support them when you no longer can. And that person can even be yourself. If you have small children, a spouse, or a special needs family member, that could be a sibling or a child, or a long term illness, this can benefit you. Anyone can benefit from estate planning for asset protection.
So, if wills and life insurance aren't enough, what can you use?
Well, to increase your asset protection, your estate planning needs to include a trust. According to money.com, if you have a net worth of at least $100,000, you should consider a trust. When I first started learning about trust, I would conjure up this image of some kind of vault or fort that you needed a key to get into. But it's nothing like that. A trust is just a document.
A trust gives you the ability to clearly lay out how you want your assets and the income from those assets used. You can do the same with a will. However, a will cannot protect your assets from creditors and taxes, and it can also be contested. So, for example, let's say you get older and you can no longer take care of yourself. If you want to maintain your independence and not have to go to a nursing home, you can have your assets in a trust to help pay for your medical care or day to day living expenses.
So let's look at a few different types of trusts that you can use in your estate planning for asset protection to fit your needs. We've ranked them in order of applying to a wide variety of people, and they're narrowing down the subset. Now, first one up is a living trust, also known as a revocable trust. With a living trust, you can define how and who you want your assets to go to, and it can be handled very quickly, much quicker than it would be if you only had a will in place, because you avoid the probate process. You transfer your assets into a trust, but you also can remain in control of those assets just like you did before. You make yourself the trustee, and when you pass, the role of the trustee can go to someone else you previously designated for that trust. A living trust can be changed while you're alive, and it is a living document that can be updated as you see fit. You can change the beneficiaries, how payments are handled, who gets what, etc. If someone starts acting shady or acting up, you can get them out. Or if, say, you had a divorce, you can change it up when you want to. You can even choose to close or terminate this trust if you wanted to at any time before you die. Those are the benefits of having a living trust. There is no tax benefit when it comes to a living trust because you will still be taxed on your assets as if you still held them, even though they've been transferred into the trust. If you want to lower your taxes and protect your assets against creditors, then an irrevocable trust may be a better option for you.
An irrevocable trust is a trust that cannot be changed once it is signed. There are workarounds, but for the most part, once it's done and signed, it's basically set in stone. With the irrevocable trust, your assets are transferred out of your control to the control of a trust. The benefits are you're able to avoid taxes, you're able to avoid probate, and your assets are handled privately. Just an FYI though, a revocable trust turns into an irrevocable trust once you pass away. If you know you're about to file for bankruptcy or you know someone has the intent to sue you, do not try to be slick and move assets into an irrevocable trust because one, it's illegal, and depending on the timing, they can prove that you only set up the trust just to escape judgment. If you want to make sure someone that you care about with special needs is cared for when you pass, you might want to look into a special needs trust.
A special needs trust is a trust that can be set up to help supplement the government benefits that a special needs or disabled relative receives. It helps them maintain their income eligibility for government services like Medicaid and SSI while still helping to provide for them monetarily. A third party special needs trust could be especially helpful for parents who have disabled children and are worried about how they will be taken care of in the future. Money from life insurance policies, injury settlements, gifts, and inheritance can go into this type of trust. The money in this trust can only be used for certain expenses, though, and those expenses depend on your state. Other restrictions include the age of the person when the trust is established, and in most cases, it should be done before the age of 65.
If you believe your immediate children are fine without your support, but you want to make sure that your grandchildren are well taken care of for you, you can start looking into what's called a generation skipping trust. A generation skipping trust is a way to transfer money tax free to your heirs. However, like the name applies, it skips a generation. So, with this trust, the beneficiaries have to be at least two generations removed from you. So, it starts with your grandkids.
Now, next up is a qualified personal residence trust. A qualified personal residence trust, or QPERT, can be used so you can remove the value of your home from your estate to lower your estate and gift taxes to your beneficiaries. If you believe your home will go up in value, this can help save money while you're still living in a home, and you can also still claim your home on your income tax for deductions. With a QPERT, you transfer the ownership of your home and even a vacation home into a trust when you pass away. It is not included in your estate and taxed as such because it's under the ownership of the trust. Once you pass away, the beneficiary that you choose will become the owner of the house. So grandma's house can become yours without you having to pay a gift tax on it. Now, there are some key points you have to understand when it comes to a QPERT. If you die before the terms of the trust, all the tax benefits will be lost. Additionally, you still have to live or use the home. You also cannot refinance the property or use it for collateral for anything else since it is now in the trust and the trust technically owns it.
The next trust that we want to talk about is called a bypass trust or an AB trust. This is an irrevocable trust for married couples. It is used to protect the asset the couple has when one of the spouses actually passes away. It also helps to avoid paying estate taxes on particular assets. An AB trust is made up of two trusts. A part, which is the marital trust, and the B part, the family trust. For the purpose of this video, we will only be focusing on the B portion of the trust. The part of the estate that belongs to the first spouse who dies goes into the B part of this trust, which, as we said, is called the family trust. When it comes to the family trust, the husband or wife who is still alive doesn't own the assets in the family trust, but they can still benefit from those assets. They can receive income from the assets in the family trust, and it can also access those assets for their children. The assets in the family trust, which remember we're talking about the B portion of this bypass trust, these assets are not taxed at the federal level if the value of those assets is under the annual exemption limit. For 2022, the annual exemption limit is a little over $12 million for an individual and $24 million for a married couple.
Now, next up is an APT irrevocable trust. Now, if you're concerned about creditors, then the trust you want to look into is the Asset Protection Trust, or APT. The APT is an irrevocable trust specifically set up for protecting your assets from lawsuits and creditors. Now, since only a few states allow you to have an APT, we won't spend too much time on them, but just know that there are specific restrictions on these types of trusts and that there can be two types: domestic and foreign. If you have a lot of money and you're really concerned about creditors, then the foreign one may be the better option for you. But it's best to speak to an estate planner or a lawyer who has experience with setting these up. The domestic one is quite new.
Now, we just covered a few types of trust because we believe knowing this information is very valuable. However, please do not use this information to go online and use one of those sites that will allow you to make your own trust within minutes, okay? Each of these can be complicated to set up, so do yourself a favor and use a professional estate planning lawyer.
It will cost more upfront, but it is better to pay now than find out later that it wasn't as airtight as you needed it to be when your family or you actually needs it. Now, when it comes to costs, the cost of setting up a trust can vary, but understand Not only will you have to pay for the cost of setting up the trust, but you will also have to pay for transferring each of the assets that need documentation to be transferred into the ownership of the trust. So I'm talking about things like car or house or business, like big things.
We hope we convey the importance of estate planning for everyone, not only for asset protection, but also for the financial stability for generations to come.
If you would like to learn more about trust funds and how they can be used for generational wealth, check out this video right here.